Sup, Dad?
Welcome to This Dad Reads, a pop culture podcast on books, shows, games, and all things nerdy. What is going on, my friends? I hope everyone is doing well out there. This dad and his droid pal KC-78 want to welcome you back to another episode of the This Dad Reads podcast. I know it has been a minute. It's been summertime around my house. You know, the kids have been enjoying their time off of school. We've done a couple trips here and there, just kind of hanging out and having a great time, honestly. And so I am particularly excited to be back because since my last episode, I have read and listened to a ton of books. So I have a ton of books to talk about and dive into in just a minute. But I'm also excited because I recently had a spoiler-filled conversation with a couple of my online friends all about Trials of the Jedi. Yes, the final High Republic novel that was recently published, and I have been just itching to talk about it and talk about it freely and about all the spoilers. And so that is also coming up in just a minute. Casey, how has your summer been going so far, my man? Oh, that's so good to hear. Yeah, the weather is so nice. Me and the kids obviously love getting outside too, getting in the pool. I hope you've been able to do some relaxing though. Oh, that is so good to hear, my man. I'm glad that you've been able to take it easy and, just enjoy your summer. I'm so glad to hear that. Well, without further ado, let's just jump in and talk about all the books that we've been reading and listening to since our last episode. Sound good? All right, let's do it. Okay, buckle up everyone, because this is quite the list. I have read and listened to a number of books since my last recording. The first one of them being Anji Kills a King. This is the debut sci-fi novel by Evan Lycum. He is a fellow bookstagrammer, book creator. Wanted to support his book, so I was thankful to get an arc of that in advance of its publication. It was a really fun read, really cool new kind of world that he builds, and the story just kind of kicks right in and jumps right off, and it's like an adventure story about this female character who does in fact kill a king and then teams up with this kind of mercenary type villainy character, but they kind of form like a friendship along the way. So I don't want to give too much away, and my full review is up on thisdadreads.com, so definitely check that out. I also read Dawn Shard, which is one of the short stories from Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere universe. I'm not going to say too much about that because, again, I don't want to give things away, but I'm still chugging along on my Cosmere reading journey for 2024, 2025. So definitely more to come on that. My wife and I have been chugging along on our Michael Connelly journey. The number of books continues to climb every single episode. So we read 9 Dragons. We read The Reversal, The Fifth Witness, The Drop, and The Black Box, and we are currently reading The Gods of Guilt right now. So we are jumping all around between, Harry Bosch, the lead detective character, and then Mickey Haller, the Lincoln lawyer, and just having a great time. Obviously, of course, I read Trials of the Jedi. I actually read it once in anticipation of its release, and then I listened to the audiobook narrated by Mark Thompson. I might as well talk about this now. It's probably the best time to talk about it, but I was actually able to attend on release day, June 17th in San Francisco. Charles Soule was in conversation with Pablo Hidalgo at a bookstore in San Francisco, was able to sign books, answer some questions, and a number of his High Republic author peers were there, like Tessa Gratton, Lydia Kang, Zoraida Cordova, Daniel Jose Older was there, Alyssa Wong. It was really cool to just kind of be in a room which was essentially kind of like the High Republic rap party. That's really what it felt like. It felt like they were there celebrating the end of an era, as it were, and got to get, some books signed and just take some really cool pictures. And it just really felt like a marked moment in not just my own relationship with this amazing storytelling journey that we've all been on, but just it for everyone, for the creators, for the fans. Me and my friend Zane, who you might know as my 2 credits, he's been with me on the show here before. We're able to meet up and attend that together. So also just a cool memory for the 2 of us. And I will never forget this evening. I consider myself incredibly fortunate to be able to be within driving distance of San Francisco. It's a mere couple hours drive from my house. So that event will definitely go down in history in terms of something that is just so cool and so much fun. Thanks to my friends at Penguin Random House Audio, I have been listening to a number of audiobooks, most of them being nonfiction, leaning on true crime, shocker. The first one of them being Murderland, Crime and Bloodlust in the Time of Serial Killers by Caroline Fraser. Caroline is a Pulitzer Prize winning author, and she kind of tells this story about how she believes that a number of the largest serial killers that have ever existed in the United States come from a specific area of the Pacific Northwest. She goes into much detail and investigates how this really toxic landscape, literally toxic landscape, can potentially be a reason why these killers are who they are. And it's fascinating. If you love true crime, I would definitely recommend it. Another one being Little Bosses Everywhere, How the Pyramid Scheme Shaped America by Bridget Red. This was so fascinating to me. Not really true crime, more just nonfiction and kind of investigative journalism, but Bridget goes into companies like Amway, Mary Kay, and Herbalife, how they, are technically multi-level marketing companies, but at the end of the day, they're really pyramid schemes, and how they've been getting away with these financial crimes like for so long. And it's so fascinating and mind-blowing that they still exist. It's just so insane. And I've watched documentaries on this topic before too, and it just is endlessly fascinating. So if kind of blue-collar crime or this kind of genre of investigative reporting appeals to you, definitely check this book out. It was super fun and super interesting. And for all my reality TV lovers out there, I listened to You Want to Be on Top, a memoir of makeovers, manipulation, and not becoming America's Next Top Model by Sarah Hartshorn. Sarah was a contestant on one of the early seasons of America's Next Top Model. I believe she said she was on cycle 9. Don't quote me if I'm wrong. Sarah is so funny, and this is more of a memoir vibe, and it's really cool. I love when the authors narrate their own stories. Obviously, most of the time they do in memoirs and biographies, but it's just so much fun to hear the person who experienced these things actually talk about them and listen to them talk about it. So she dives into kind of her whole journey about how she was first selected and casted and the whole experience, and how so much of it was honestly insane and like psychotic. So if you love reality TV and kind of peeking behind the curtains of reality TV production, this is definitely. Another one I listened to is called The Art Thief, A True Story of Love, Crime, and a Dangerous Obsession by Michael Finkel. Michael basically gives a biography about Stefan Brettweiser, who was the most prolific art thief of all time, or he is the most prolific art thief of all time. He had his girlfriend as an accomplice. He collected more than like $2 billion worth of art, and he would basically just walk into museums and walk out with stuff in his pocket, and got away with it for so long, and had this basically cove of treasures in his mom's attic for so long. It all came crashing down obviously at some point, but it was again so fascinating to delve into the mind of a criminal and to basically I don't want to say I related to him, but he basically just did it for the thrill and the love of like collecting. He didn't really care about the stuff once he had it. He just wanted to say that he did it and accomplished it. He wasn't in it for the money, but he said he was this passionate art person, and basically he got convicted of crimes and was let out and just immediately started stealing again. So honestly, I'm laughing, but it was actually really tragic and sad too, that like some people are just so broken, and honestly, like the system doesn't ever really do them any good, and it's honestly like heartbreaking too. But it was so fascinating, and just kind of a different bent on true crime that I hadn't really experienced before. So definitely give that one a try if it sounds interesting to you. These books just had me on a true crime bent, and so this one's been on my list for a long time, ever since I watched American Crime Story a few years ago. This one is called Vulgar Favors by Maureen Orth. This is basically what the whole Gianni Versace assassination show by Ryan Murphy was based on. It was based off Maureen's novel. She's an investigative journalist, and just dives into Andrew Cunanan's life. And obviously this story is just marked in pop culture history forever. I was relatively young when this happened, so I have a memory of this going down, but so many things I never knew. And Maureen does an amazing job of just getting in there and getting into all the details about what happened, and all the theories that are still out there to this day that we never are going to know, and answers we're just never going to have. I got to round out my audiobook journey with something fiction. I don't do this very often because my brain doesn't work that way, but it was a Star Wars. Be proud of me, everyone. I listened to Star Wars Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader by James Luceno. I have had this physical book on my shelf for a while, but it was also kind of dangling in my audiobook library, so I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it a try. This one is narrated by Jonathan Davis, and if you haven't listened or read this book yet, this basically delves into a time right after Anakin becomes Darth Vader. A lot of people are still believing that Anakin died on Coruscant during the siege of the temple. So this story kind of does that thing where it's like Order 66 didn't completely succeed, and I kind of have a little bit of an opinion on so many stories existing in this space. So many cool stories, hear me say, but I feel like this is kind of one of those, it's becoming a Star Wars trope that like, what if some Jedi survived? And I think at the time of this original publication, which was 2005, this concept was probably relatively original. But at this point, me reading it, I'm like, oh, this is happening again. So there's some new Jedi characters that are introduced that, you know, I had no context for. I didn't know who they were. I honestly don't even remember their names. I think their names were like Roan, Shrine, and Bol Chatic, and there's a Padawan thrown in there. So they're all confused and survive Order 66. And honestly, the plot was a little bit light for me. I wasn't completely blown away by it. I did enjoy the aspects of diving into Darth Vader's psyche, and Luceno does an amazing job of like describing the actual like horror and terror of being in Darth Vader's suit and how physically uncomfortable it must be to exist in that space. That to me was the highlight of the book. He did an amazing job of that, and it made me think of Darth Vader in a way that I have never thought of and will never not think of ever again. So if you are a fan of Darth Vader, of James Luceno, definitely check it out. For me, it was probably around a 3-star. If I was going to give it a star rating, maybe 2.5 stars. But again, I would probably read this one physically again at some point because I would love to delve just more deeply into Luceno's prose. Okay, I'm just going to rapid fire get some of these other books going so we can actually have something else on this episode. Some other books I read were Guardians of Glyndor, The Disappearing Creatures #1 by Nicole Claire C. This is a fantasy YA book. I also finished Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. I also read the script book version of Tempest Breaker by Kevin Scott and published my review of that on my website. I also read Essentials Volume 1, which is a graphic novel by Luke Arnold and Chris Wyatt, and I do have a video review coming of that on my socials. And one other audiobook I actually missed is All That Is Wicked by Kate Winkler Dawson. So the theme of all these books is a lot of true crime, a lot of criminals, a lot of fantasy, a lot of science fiction, and so much fun. So thank you for sticking it out with me, and I guess the longer I go in between episodes, the longer this list of books and audiobooks is going to be, but I hope that there were a couple that might have sounded interesting to you and that you will add to your TBR. All right, Casey, I think we deserve a little break after all that. What do you say? Okay, well, after the break, I'm going to be joined by a couple friends and having a spoiler-filled conversation about Trials of the Jedi. Joining me today are two longtime friends and first-time guests to the show who I am stoked to chat Trials of the Jedi with. It's Sam, also known as Zetafar, and Nick, also known as Read Star Wars with me. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Thanks for
Good
having us
morning,
on.
Jason. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. It's morning for Sam in Australia. It is afternoon for Nick and myself in western region-ish of the United States. So thank you for spending your breakfast morning time with us, Sam.
Oh, that's all good. That's all good. I've always wanted to jump on your podcast, and just any excuse to talk Star Wars, and specifically any excuse to talk more High Republic with more people is always a great time.
Definitely. And I basically I mean, we've all been friends online for a while, but
Yep.
I've never had you guys on, and B, I knew that you both had read Trials of the Jedi already. As of this
Yep.
recording, the book's been out for what, about a month-ish? Oh no, almost a month. It's like the first week of July, so hoping by the time this
Yep.
episode comes out, a lot of people can kind of like dive in with us, because like we've been saying before we recorded, a lot of people just keep a lot of things tight-lipped. You don't want to spoil anything for
Yep.
anyone, but stoked to have you guys here to talk about all the spoilers.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, let's just jump right in. Trials of the Jedi, obviously such like an epic quote unquote conclusion, if you will, to especially phase 3 of this High Republic storytelling initiative, what were just kind of your first initial impressions? Like, if you just put down the book, like, what were your guys' initial thoughts? Nick, what did you think?
When I put down the book, I think I felt very, well, I didn't think, I know I felt very emotionally satisfied.
Mm,
I felt like it wrapped it up so well. Um, there was no parts of any of the story I was like, I didn't like that, or I wish this would have happened. I put down the book and it felt right for this to be like the main ending. I know there's still a comic coming out. But it just felt like, man, they wrapped it up so well. The book was just so well done.
yeah, and then
It
you
was a really
immediately
good
DM'd
feeling.
me. And then you
I
DM'd
did.
me.
I did. I think I was DMing you throughout the entire time
You
I was
were.
reading
I was gonna say
it.
you basically live DM'd me, which I was so here for. Like I loved it. I was like I could tracking along with where you were
Like
going on it.
I have to talk to somebody about this, but I can't post anything because I refuse to be the one that spoils it for somebody.
Yes, exactly. I loved experiencing it with you that way.
Yeah, that was fun.
How about you, Sam? What were your initial thoughts?
Loved seemingly like I thought that everything had wrapped up really, really nice. Um, Not as many people died as I was anticipating
Yes.
going into the book.
Yes.
Hmm.
I was more going into it thinking, cool, who's surviving, not
Yeah.
who's the one or two. So that was a surprise and a really nice surprise. Clearly, some things have been left open
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
future stories if they get given that opportunity further down the line. Would love to see like
Fingers crossed they did.
does Wreath catch up with Aslan and what happens there? Like that possibility like excites me but
Hmm.
terrifies me at the same time. Would love to know what happens with Keeve Trennis because if I remember right, she's one of the Jedi Masters that leaves the Order.
Hmm.
So would love to know some stuff behind that. But yeah, absolutely loved it. It was like from the very start of the book, like I didn't want to put it down, but it was like I was trying to pace myself. I wanted to last the week, but I was done in like 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah, I was in the
absolutely
same
There
boat.
was
fantastic.
no pacing over here. There was
Yeah,
no
no.
pacing. I just audiobook all day long.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah, I know. Same thing with me. I was really trying to take my time with it. Like I didn't want to tear through it. And so I feel like I did. Like I felt like I read it slower than usual, but again, I didn't want to put it down either. So like I was definitely reading it longer
mm,
like what am I trying to say? Reading like periods than I usually do, like staying up later. I didn't want to put it down. And that's part of what I love about Charles writing in general. It's like very unput downable. And I just love any book that's like that, like let alone
Hmm.
like this finale to this thing that we've all grown to love so dearly over the past four
Right.
years. So, but I always felt like every chapter was hitting. I do want to know, was there anything that kind of took you guys by surprise when you were reading this book? Whether that was maybe characters that were included. I know we already said I was also surprised by how low the body count was, but anything else that kind of was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
I think the thing that surprised me, and the longer I've thought about it, the more I've liked it, was the way they wrapped up Avar and Elzar's story.
Mm.
How I don't even know how to describe like what happened to them, um, but they're basically just forever on Planet X, keeping everything in balance, so that the galaxy can heal. That was to me very unexpected. I loved all the how deep this book went into the Force and all the Force lore. I get so nerdy over that type of stuff, and I was really enjoying it. Um, but I think the way they wrapped up their characters was unexpected. But again, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool.
Nice. Sam, anything from your side?
much like Nick of the how this book wraps up with Avar and Elzar, and that being a shock on how the galaxy is saved from the blight.
Hmm.
Never anticipated that would be the way things were going to go, uh, and very much like specifically like the last couple of books of a journey of going from uh, wanting every like either like nameless to die or just disappear to like very much a tragic story of
Mm,
Hmm.
what their
Yeah.
I know what their existence actually means for the
mhm.
galaxy as a whole and their purpose within it. To actually like feeling obviously quite sorry for them of everything that ended up happening to them, and to the point of like them feeding off normal people in the galaxy that wouldn't perhaps be considered force sensitive, just like the normal RDF soldiers as they're loading the nameless onto the ship. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like I saw that as like their hunger had become that extreme
Hmm.
that they were just willing to get it from anywhere.
Right.
Yeah. But no, apart from that, nothing else I found like really shocking. No.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call this from my side like a surprise, but I think that family he included in like the interludes, like I guess I wasn't expecting at this point to like be introduced to like new characters and
Right.
to A, like have them be new and then B, like care for them by the end. Because at
Hmm.
first I was kind of like, oh, I'm gonna get through these parts. Like, where are my people?
Right.
Like, what is going on with the
Right.
action? Like, but then I feel like towards the end, I
Those were
really
my
appreciate.
people.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciated it, and I was actually honestly surprised that like the parents didn't just die. Like I thought these kids were going to
Right.
be left alone or left by themselves. But so to me, it was a little bit. I can see what he was doing because he was injecting a little bit of that like real world, real
Hmm.
stakes of what's going on in the galaxy, and then like giving you that hope of like, okay, they survived, they persevered, like they had struggles like everyone else, and like
Right.
that's what's going to happen to in the larger story that we all like are actually here for and care about as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess I was surprised that A, like I said, that they were there, and then B, by the end that I actually cared about them. Okay, and so Sam, you brought this up because I don't know if I've heard some people who have been unclear about what the High Republic was going to be. I think I never, from what I could gather, Lucasfilm was never saying like the High Republic is over after this. I know people have been asking that question for a long time, and my
Right.
stance has always been like I don't think it's going to be quote unquote over. I think they're going to establish it as a Star Wars era that then they will dip in and out and tell stories
Yeah.
out. And thankfully, I think I was right. Like they have basically said that like okay, we established this era. This portion of
Yeah.
this story is over. This is an existing era and like we're gonna have stuff, in the future dipping in and out. So, I know Sam, you mentioned the Aslan and Wreath thing, which same. I'm like you cannot tease that and not
Yeah.
catch
And
back
just
up with that
leave
later.
it. And
Like
just
there's
leave
no
it.
way. And especially with Wreath being like one of my favorite characters, I'm like you can't leave me
Hmm.
hanging with him and I want more. So
Yeah.
like obviously I'm about that. So where do we think some other like loose ends want to like what are some of those next stories in the High Republic that we want to hear still?
Man, so with that one in particular, what I would love to see is, and Jason, maybe I mentioned this to you, like a lineage of Sith,
Mm-hmm.
because we know Palpatine, we know Darth Plagueis, in Legends, I forget the name of Plagueis's master. Um,
Tenebris, I think it is.
yes, but I would love for them to just go back and like give us give us that lineage that's behind the scenes in the shadows, because it's there, right? The Sith never stopped being. So that would be something that I think would be a lot of fun, and there's a lot of potential, and I feel like there's just so much room there, because that story hasn't really been told, um, in this particular period of time.
Right,
So
and
I think
especially
that would be
with
a really cool one.
when with the acolyte not coming back at least anytime soon. Like I agree. I think there's
Right.
stories to be told
Hmm.
in that area.
Yep.
How about you,
We
Sam?
got Plagueis in canon.
Well, yeah, yeah, exactly. Seriously. I'm like, how is Aslan related to all that? Because he
Right.
bled his freaking lightsaber like at the end of the book. Like
He did.
wild.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then he goes full on, like, because he's
Yeah.
like on the fence the whole time, and then he just goes full
Which
tilt.
I kind of loved that. Like I loved that he just like chose the dark side and like that's part of what I love about the just that gray area when it comes to like
Hmm.
Force users and Jedi. That's what I loved about Rise of the Red Blade 2 by Delilah S. Dawson, just like sitting
Such a good
in
book.
that like so good, like sitting in that gray area where
Hmm.
I'm like she should choose the dark side. Like it's gonna serve her better. But yeah, same thing with Aslan, just like choosing it and like leaning into it, but not
Right.
really, still not really knowing who he is in it, I would say. Like there's so much
Right.
to explore there, like so much to explore.
Hmm.
I'm gonna also selfishly say, like from phase two, I need like how Marta basically like created the Nile. Like that there's like
Yeah.
a huge chunk of missing story there.
Yeah,
Like and I love Marta and obviously I like Markion too, and but there's a gap there. There's like a story gap and I want that so bad.
there is because, and I may be totally forgetting, so correct me if I am, but especially in phase one, was it Markion's grandmother that he had like in the tank?
The
You
oh
guys
no,
know who I'm talking about?
The one that was giving the paths. The
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She was
no, that was
basically like his
Santeca.
no,
companion.
That was
she's a
Mari
Senseca.
Santeca. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
We'll just edit that whole part out.
No, but he interacts with his with other relative like he sees other
Yeah.
his grandma in some of
Yeah,
his visions
yeah.
and stuff and like Marta's kind of like Marta he sees Marta in Temptation of the Forest too. And so but I feel like he's not as connected to her, so I'm like
Hmm.
I need that through line like tightened up.
Yeah, that'd be
I'd
really
love to
interesting.
know more on their people.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Like a
It's a
Chiss
really interesting
ascendancy
species.
like trilogy like that Zahn did
Um,
with Thrawn like
I
but with all of
yeah.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would
And
be
why
really
they were
cool.
always so violent and why they didn't fix the storm spot on their planet. Like
Yeah.
why that
Yeah.
always was just always happening.
Why
Uh
they can see they're
yeah.
dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why they're just like crazy in general. Like
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um I'm also confused. I really thought, and I don't know if you guys have both read The Living Force. I think you both have.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. You're nodding your heads. We've all read The Living Force.
Yeah.
So there was some parts that had were touching on High Republic in that, and I was expecting to see that in this book, like because they talk
Yeah.
about this island or that place where it's like, oh, it seems like some sort of event happened there. I can't remember everything right now, but I was waiting for that to maybe that's part of Cavan's like final comic. Maybe that's in the finale comic that's coming out in from the Marvel book because I'm like, dang, I was waiting for that because it
Yeah.
just seemed like the timing was gonna align. So maybe we'll still get it, but anyway, I was like, wait, where is that?
Right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Um
That's interesting.
like I'd love to see obviously I would love to get more Bell. Like what does he do with his life? Would love
Yeah.
to get
Yes.
the Padawan Barry picks up right at the end of the book when he's
Mm,
making his way through the temple
Hmm.
and finds the
yes.
center of the temple. Like I would love more on like find out. And even if that Padawan is no one of influence, just wanting more Barry.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, but also like uh who is for High Republic fans, who would be the Darth Jar Jar of the High Republic? Um,
Probably like, oh no, I don't know. I was gonna say Geode,
Is
but
the,
Geode's not as like fumbly bumbly as Jar Jar.
yeah, does the High Republic really have like a comic relief character?
um, not
I
so
feel like
much
it
that I
does.
can't think of the top
Yeah.
of my head.
Um,
Yeah,
That's hilarious. That'd be so funny.
and you know, Geode, it would be a while before he could do it.
Yeah, because I mean, we
yeah.
could talk spoilers that too. He basically like rooted himself. I hope there's gonna
They
be some
definitely
more.
made it seem like he did,
Yeah,
which
At least
I got
like
mixed
left hope.
feelings about that
yeah, yeah.
because obviously I'm
Yeah.
for it, right? But the emotional roller coaster they took me on before that, I was
Oh my
like,
gosh, I was
that
wrecked.
was not fair.
No, I was
I'm
wrecked.
literally weed eating my backyard, crying
Yeah.
because Gio just sacrificed himself.
Yes, right.
Oh,
I mean, we're jumping all around. This is just spoilers for Phase 3 of the High Republic in
yeah,
general. How
yeah,
about
yeah.
that?
Um,
Speaking of, you mentioned Bell, and I'm gonna move a little bit back to Trials specifically, but one of the scenes that I was like losing my mind over was obviously when Bell like takes down Markion and like just
yes,
owns it and
yes,
just like is
yes.
so
That was such
badass
a
and like,
good
oh,
scene.
Yeah.
Ah,
I just had to pause and I was like, yes. And my wife was like, what's going on over there? I'm like, you don't even know. Like
no,
my
I think
guy just like
I messaged you. I was like, "Go, Bell!"
yes, and
I
that's
was like,
one part
"Oh
I
man."
was like literally I'm not one of those people. I don't like scream. I don't do but I was like, ah, like I was so
I was
stoked for
cheering out
him.
loud. Yeah.
Yeah, same. What were there any other scenes that you guys had that like kind of emotional response to from Trials?
The from in the same sequence when Markion had Amber,
No.
as she was
No,
like trying to like burn his face off.
Yes.
that was such a
Yeah,
good chapter from her perspective.
Oh, That was
Oh,
so
it was
cute. It was so
fantastic.
cute.
Like,
It was
It was
heartbreaking.
and
so
Yeah.
good.
like, and I would want to say, like, anyone that like read the ebook or physically read it, like that chapter alone, I feel like makes the audiobook worth it just to hear
Absolutely.
her
Absolutely.
voice and hear her thoughts.
Hmm.
Yeah, was absolutely splendid. Yeah, but that had like I think I was cooking in the kitchen. I was cooking dinner one night, and like I just stopped and I was like, if she dies,
I
You're
know.
like, I'm chopping onions. That's why I'm crying right now.
I
yeah,
almost I was expecting her to die, and I was like
Me
gonna be so
too.
angry at Charles, but I'm so glad that she didn't, obviously.
Right.
And
yeah,
Burry for the win, like Burry looks like going for it to like save
Yeah.
her. And, oh yeah, same. I was like, I think even Chelsea, who's been on the show before, you guys all familiar with her Space Wizards book club.
yeah.
Same thing. She was DMing me. She was like, if Ember dies, like I swear, like
We will all revolt.
Yeah.
1,000%. Speaking of deaths, I don't know how surprising I wouldn't say it was like a mind-blowing scene, but like having buckets of blood like kick the bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys have much of a reaction to that? I feel like he's has been kind of
Uh,
been a fringe character, and I don't know how many
yeah.
people would respond to that, but
No, I didn't have much of a. I had a reaction of like, oh shit, buckets of blood's died, like and recently like getting access to like the physical adventure comics, and then
mm-hmm.
slowly catching up on all that stuff from phase one, and now two, like getting more of him like gave a bit of weight for me personally, but nothing of like if it's a main character and they had died, or like
Yeah.
concern over like the two twins, Sarah and
Tarek.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything they have been through. There was concern over them, but yeah, not so much bucket of blood.
No offense, Daniel Jose Older. We love everything you contributed, but yeah.
Yeah.
I loved how him and I always forget his like nemesis's name. Um, but how both of them were like saying the same quote throughout the book, like when life's too short when it's this long. That was cool. I really enjoyed their final confrontation. Like I thought that was really well done. It was really good.
Nice, nice. I'm trying to think of like any other parts that like we've just been chomping at the bit to talk about, or just react to, or emotionally like uh process with friends. Like I'm trying to think like what other parts of this book was I just like waiting to talk to someone about. Can you guys think of anything?
So
Uh,
I really
oh,
Oh, as you
no,
both
Sam,
just
go
start
ahead.
talking
no.
immediately.
You go, Nick. You
Yes.
go.
I was gonna say I really liked, and Sam, you touched on it, how they made the nameless it because it starts off as just this heartless, literally soul sucking monster, right? But I loved how they really kind of pivoted away from it's not this horrible monster, it's really this um incredibly force attuned creature that's struggling, and um the key to not even defeating but making peace with the nameless really was empathy. They started planting the seeds for that in the manga books, and I really, really loved that. There's actually a scene in the fourth one where Yoda makes peace with one, um, because of what Buryaga did, which I love that. I love that Buryaga
Yep.
was helping Grandmaster Yoda. Um, but just through that empathy and that connection, and that, oh, this isn't just this heartless, soul sucking monster. This is a creature who is ripped from its home. It's starving. It's being tortured and mutilated. Um, I thought that was really, really cool and really well done. Really well done.
And I would think if you were to like reread the High Republic, like when you get to like uh, what Baron Bullen ends up
Yeah.
doing to them with the
Mm-hmm.
knowledge of their purpose in the galaxy, I think that makes
Mm-hmm.
even sadder.
Yeah,
For
it
what's
really
happened to
does.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
See,
For me,
I was gonna say, Sam,
oh,
you were
sorry.
trying to talk at the same time. What was your what was your take?
For me, it was as they were landing on Planet X, and either a part of the ship pulled, like ripped apart, or like Bell needed to jump midair to help Amber. And for me, that was like a throwback to Light of the Jedi, with Loden still teaching Bell how to fall from great
Oh
heights
yeah.
and
Hmm.
and use the Force. So for me personally, that was a big, wasn't like emotional, but like a cool like
Full
connection.
circle moment.
And then to see how far Bell has come as a Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how
And then to
much.
get what like Ava and Elzar reacted to, like seeing how far he had come, of like all the things Loden would talk about Bell to others, and like the high praise he already had for him at such a young age.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for him still having that connection to his master, I feel like that was such a pivotal moment in phase one that has obviously stayed with him, but he's learned and grown, but still been able to kind of honor him in that way. And I caught that same thing. I was like, oh, he knows how to like
Yeah.
fall now, or because that was
Yeah.
the thing he was
Yeah.
struggling with, and that
Right.
was a really
Yeah.
good touch. Yeah.
Full circle moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm such like a nerd, but I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Dark Crystal, but that transformation of the Nameless to like their true form, it reminded me of like the Skeksis turning into like the Urskeks. I don't know if you guys know that. At the end of the
Mm-mm.
Dark Crystal, like the main bad guys are these like reptilian gross things, but then once the crystal, is healed, they turn into these like magnificent beings, and like the Nameless now are like upright and they're like more majestic looking. And so anyway, for
That's really cool.
anyone else who's into Dark Crystal, I
Well,
don't know if Charles was inspired by that, but I definitely got Dark Crystal vibes in that moment. So that anyway, that's just a weird connection that I had.
that's one of my weak points of some a movie that I haven't seen, that my wife is always bringing up.
Definitely
That
need
I
to
know.
watch it. It definitely doesn't age super well. But Jim Henson, I feel like it was just a genius. And like, there's tons of other books and comics that are supplemental material. And then the Netflix series is really, really good. So anyway, it's
Yeah.
a whole world. If you ever have time to dive into, it's
Okay.
really fun. It's really
Perfect.
good.
Got
Anyway,
my homework now.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I literally just remember that as we were talking, as you mentioned the Nameless. So I loved that too. I also, I mean, we talked about Avar and Elzar a little bit, but I think that I really loved how Charles kind of took, obviously, the concept and conceit that the Jedi um, can have love, and still
Yeah.
participate in the Jedi, that Tessa Gratton so beautifully like established and
Hmm.
kind of like explained in
Yeah.
Temptation of the Force, and I'm like totally sold on it. I
Yeah.
love how their relationship kind of just morphed, like you said, into their
Hmm.
final decision, and how they can still be connected, but also knowing that they have this higher calling, I guess,
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
galaxy. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, I just thought that was really beautiful and like elegantly done. And I know, obviously, I know some people I think were probably disappointed that more people didn't die, but I feel like that would have been maybe too easy. And I feel like this is a lot
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
fun and like complex, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
We had enough people die in the High Republic, man. I was happy to end
Right?
on a high note.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, is that why Kevin stopped writing so many books? Because too many characters were
They
dying.
just said, you got to stop. You got to stop.
Yeah, that's funny.
uh, no,
I
I
do have.
try not. Oh, you go, Nick.
Go ahead, Sam. Go ahead.
Oh, I was like, I try not think too often about how things are left with Avar and Elzar, because it's sad.
Hmm.
Um, uh, and then like I often think of like in generations to come for the Jedi, are they Jedi that are remembered, um, or but because of the Nameless asking Bell and the like not to let anyone ever come to this planet again,
Hmm.
do Ava and Elzar just go down as like myth and legend, and like young Jedi talk about them in generations to come as did they really exist, or not, of like, yeah, like there being no evidence of them after all this
Um,
tragedy.
no, Luke Skywalker met Elzar in the Force on a planet that would like give
uh
Force visions. What
uh
was it
it
in the
was the main
comics
comic run that just finished, and he
between
met,
Empire and Jedi?
yeah, and
You met Elzar, right?
he met Elza and Aslan, because the planet
Yes,
remembers like
your Force
the
essence.
the Force essence, and then the planet shows itself in like the form of those characters. So yeah,
Which,
Does
knowing how Elzar's
Elzar ever
story
get to
wraps
leave?
up,
Yeah.
how does that work? That's another question I have now.
Yeah. Because I'd been reading that comic just before this came out, and I was like, are we going to get anything of them going to that planet? Or is that something for future, maybe? Or just something that happens but never really touched on?
Sure,
I don't
a
know.
side quest that no one's explored yet. I will
Yeah.
say I guess I'm curious, and maybe this will never get explained, and I'm okay if it doesn't. But like they were, Elzar and Avar had to stay there until like enough eggs were made for the balance to be restored
Yeah.
on it, for them to do their own thing. So like saying that this is
Right.
going to take like forever. This is going to take a long time. So like when they're done, are they dead or are they just like hanging out on Planet X until they die?
Yeah.
Like I guess I'm confused about that part. Like
Right.
yeah, do they just stay there until they're dead? But you would think they would have aged out by then. Like their body should have died by then. But I guess I'm
Mm,
just confused about just some of the logistics of that. But again,
Right.
I don't need it to be explained. But I guess whenever that time comes, like something else has to happen to them. I think, but maybe not. I don't know.
surely. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I do have a little bit of a question. I always get like really interested in how, in different iterations of Star Wars, the light side of the Force and the dark side of the Force works. Um, because when you hear George Lucas talks about it, he's like, the dark side is not meant to be in balance with the light side. The dark side is just the abuse of the Force, right? Um, but then you have things like this where it does seem like the light and the dark are in, there is a balance between the two. We got that same balance, I think, in Rebels. So I'm always really interested to see how, um, just to see how those two interact with each other, and maybe there's like different ways to define the dark side than like what we think about when we think about like the Sith, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, or if that was something that stuck out to you guys at all.
I I was wondering, like I was making some notes last night, and I did wonder whether when in Temptation of the Force we get how like Ava talking about how her love with Elzar um, completes her as a Jedi, and
Right,
it doesn't make things more difficult for her.
right,
And I do wonder whether that in maybe some way operates the same for Elzar in his use of the dark side of like it has
mm-hmm.
never like 100% totally consumed him.
Right.
Um, even in was it Rising Storm when we get the first moment of him when the Nihil attack
Yeah, it was.
Starlight Beacon. So I do wonder whether uh, needing two beings of the light and the dark, but perhaps like when we think about the dark, we think Sith,
Right,
but whether the dark side user of some shape or form that the galaxy needed on Planet X is
right,
not necessarily a Sith, but Elzar specifically in
right.
how he's attuned to kind of both, but can use the dark and it
Mm-hmm.
not be totally um, consuming and perhaps helps him understand the Force better.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that. And I think every time I've thought about it, and I think what the High Republic has kind of helped me maybe establish my understanding of the Force is that, and I think this is a theme in all of Star Wars, right? There is that theme of balance. So I guess I'm just
Yeah.
not as familiar of what George's initial concept for the Force was. But
mm-hmm.
to me, and this is just kind of like a life thing I kind of try to live by too, like everything in moderation, like everything in
Mm-hmm.
balance. Like I feel like if you
Yeah,
ever have too
Yeah.
much of one thing, that can turn into a bad thing.
right,
So I think like things like anger and fear are useful. Like I think you
right.
need to be able to use those things, but you also
Mm-hmm.
need to balance that with, kindness and respect
Right.
and so I think that's why in my mind it made sense. And I guess
Yeah,
I do get a little bit fuzzy when it's like, okay, well then do they have to be what really defines a dark side user? Like is Elzar he
yeah.
technically is a dark side user because he can use it when he needs but can't isn't consumed by it, whereas Aslan's definitely like all in on the dark
Consumed
side.
by it.
So,
Right.
and I think that that's kind of the I kind of like that it ended with that kind of proof that things need to be in balance. Like,
Yeah.
um, and I guess I didn't question how it affected or my understanding of it before, but I like it. I like how it
Yeah, I
I
love
like
it.
how it
Yeah,
serves the story, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I always get so like that element of it. I said it earlier. I love it when they get like deep into the force.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people that's not like their jam, but that's mine. I love it, and
Yeah.
so
Oh,
that was a
yeah.
lot of fun.
And I guess too, we were talking about the Nameless before, and I didn't really think of it much, I think, until this book, because I know we saw the Nameless, that like they were consuming the Jedi, because obviously they are, Force users. But I'm like, couldn't
Mhm.
they could consume anyone, and they
Mm,
everyone has the for like everyone is a
The force is in everything,
is in
right?
everyone. So
mm.
I
Right.
guess that was part of. I was always like, well, they could get it if they needed it somewhere else. Maybe it just the Jedi just like tastes better. I don't know. Like, or they get more of a hit off of
There's
the
not
Jedi.
enough.
I don't know.
There's
Yeah,
not enough.
exactly. Exactly.
That's funny.
Um, we've talked about a lot of things that we've loved and liked
Mhm.
and had our minds blown by. Have you guys had any criticisms about this book? I don't ever want my, again, all about balance. Like I don't,
Yeah.
if there's anything that you guys thought could have been better or didn't sit well with you, I want to open it up to that if there was any of those things.
Nothing
And
didn't sit well
okay.
with me.
Nothing. Yeah. Um, no, nothing. Why reading? I was like, oh, I didn't like that, or
Mm,
I could have
Right.
done without that. Like
Right.
it only comes with like trying to look for things, and
okay.
the interlude chapters at times I feel like took away from the pacing a bit, especially when a lot of stuff was happening. When they were jumping around with like three sets of different characters on Planet X, and wanting to get to what the next characters were actually like the how their story was developing. But like that's like absolutely nitpicking.
And Nick, you basically said no as well.
Yeah. No. um, nothing. Yeah. There wasn't anything that stuck out to me. I need more Stellan,
Oh,
but
yeah.
that's not a thing.
Right.
Um,
Oh yeah.
um,
Oh.
sorry, that was a downer. That was a real downer.
The
Uh,
tease.
I thought he was back for like 5 seconds.
I love that. And I had just finished Wayseeker,
Mm,
and spoilers for Wayseeker, he pops up a lot throughout that one. Um so I loved how he's like not like completely gone,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um yeah, no, there wasn't anything about it where I was like, um I actually didn't mind the interludes kind of breaking up the pacing. To me, it felt like almost like a little bit of like a chance to catch my breath.
Mm.
Because it is a fast-paced book, and I like that about it. Like you hit the ground running, and you're just going. Um, there's been a few High Republic books where I felt like it took a while for the book to kind of get its feet. This one did not feel like that at all.
Well, and you guys, did you do your first reads were audiobooks?
Hmm.
Both of you? Okay, so
Yeah.
I read it once and then I did the audiobook once. Because I wanted to get both experiences. And I will say, reading the book the first time, just sitting down to read it, and it was digital, so I was reading it on like my Kindle. Um,
Hmm.
I felt like I wanted things to go faster
Oh, really?
earlier. And
Oh,
I was
Yeah,
like
okay.
the first like quarter, I was like, what is going on? Like
yeah,
why aren't things moving?
right.
But then that was quickly like
Yeah,
and then it was the interlude, so introducing new characters, and I was like, wait, what? Like why?
yeah,
What are we doing here? And then they were focusing a lot on the Pika and the Adrians, so the people who have been in the short stories, and I was like,
yeah,
okay, I like them, they're nice, but like I feel like we're spending a lot of time with them, like, which was
right.
cool. At the end, I liked that they were included, and it really again gave you
Hmm.
that perspective on Ariadu and like what's going on over there, which we didn't really talk about that much, but I that was my only thing at first. But then when I did the audiobook I didn't have that experience with. Like I felt like maybe
Yeah,
because I already knew what was gonna happen and I'm just impatient in general. So like I if a book doesn't hit right away, I'm always like, let's go. But very quickly did it start kicking off. And so I
you
wouldn't even
just
say
got to
that's a
listen to Mark Thompson at 2 times speed. That's the chick.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What she did a fantastic job narrating this book.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
like hands down, his Markion row. Anytime I listen to a book and somebody else does it, I'm like, that's not what Markion sounds like.
Let's talk
Um,
about Markion. Did you like the way his story ended?
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. It was so fitting for him, the guy that wanted to be the one that takes out the whole galaxy, to die in complete and total obscurity.
Mm,
I love that. Like, you don't even know when it happened. You just know it happened.
yeah.
I love that. I thought that was perfect.
and like right before he dies, of like questioning why no one came and rescued him. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, the man
Yeah.
that the man that isolated so many people through the galaxy, so
Hmm.
Hmm.
many people alone and helpless, ended
And
up being,
almost killed Ember.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Never forget.
Yeah.
Never
Like,
forget.
yeah.
That added a
um,
life sentence, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely.
A little bit of
Absolutely.
torture, maybe. Yeah.
Uh, you don't get your
Yeah.
redemption arc, man. um, no, I like that. I really enjoyed the final confrontation with him and Bell and Buryaga.
Mhm.
Um, it was a little funny to me when everyone was like, when they're carrying him back and they're all like, he's awake, right? And they're like, wait, what?
There's like,
um, um, that was, it was all just, yeah, the way they wrapped it up. I was fist pumping the air the whole time I was reading it.
That's awesome. I did think well, I don't know if I thought Bell was gonna actually kill him. I feel like his like he was so close. Like
He was there.
he was right there, and I mean,
Yeah, he was
I
there.
would have cheered the same if he did it. For
Right,
how
right,
the story went. I mean, I was just proud of him
right,
regardless, but
right,
definitely deserved it. But yeah, I feel like it was ultimately the right thing. I agree. Like it's 10
right.
times. That's why, when someone, I read a lot of crime fiction, and it's kind of like a bummer when someone offs themselves before they can like go to trial, or they get killed when they
Hmm.
can't, and they don't. You feel like justice isn't served to a
Yeah,
degree,
no,
and so it's
yeah.
so just
definitely
like
justice.
fulfilling. Yeah, yeah.
Poetic justice. Like, just,
Exactly. Yes.
that was chef's kiss. Perfect.
100%. How did we feel about the, Battle of Eriadu being a part of it? I feel like that's been mainly explored in the High Republic Adventures line, and I don't know how caught up you guys are on that series. And that's one of the series that isn't over. So like I think it has 2 issues left. Well, 1 issue left. I think issue 19 just came out, and 20 it ends the run. So Battle of Eriadu, what were your guys' kind of responses to that?
I have not read any of the High Republic adventures. That's the one piece of all the High Republic that I haven't really gotten into.
Okay.
Um, and I don't even know why.
Me neither.
I'm
So,
about halfway through phase 2 for adventures.
Okay.
I've talked about before, just when they're not done by Marvel, they're a little bit hard to get a hold of, and I have to wait for. I can't get them digitally here in Australia.
Oh, bummer.
Like even the Dark Horse app doesn't have anything Star Wars on the app.
You got to get that VPN.
Yeah. So I've usually just been waiting for the volumes to come out,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and grab them that way. But yeah, pretty much this year with the big gaps in books coming out in comparison to like phase 1, I've been slowly catching up on that. But
Okay.
have seen a lot of like when the titles were announced and stuff like that, and people talking that a lot of it is on Iriadu.
Hmm.
And have got and like you get a bit of that from this book of like
Yeah.
how things finish up. But
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. And there's so much more. There's more for you guys to enjoy and to explore, more connections to have
yeah,
when you get there.
exactly.
I will say I've heard Charles Soule say that he wanted this book to be like he wanted you to be able to read it as a standalone. And I kind
Yep.
of disagree with that. Like I
yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
don't.
tough.
I mean, I think he's trying to say like if you've read everything, you'll get the connections. But I'm like, that's kind of what this entire book is. Like, if you don't know what's going on, like, sure, you'll be entertained and thrilled, but like, that
Right.
weight of what happens to Markion, and like, like we said, like the emotional reaction that we had,
Yeah.
like, they're not going to be as strong, right?
No, I don't see how they could be. I mean, I think he mentioned like what Markion did to Loden in this one. But if you haven't read that and you haven't experienced it, yeah, I don't know how. I can't imagine it having the same weight.
Right.
So I've always thought like to a sense you can like read read the adult books and even this one to a point, I guess, on its own. but reading everything, like the added value for
Hmm.
knowing everything and everything going on with all the characters from YA, middle grade,
Yeah.
the manga,
Hmm.
um, adventures, the Marvel comics. Like if you have that time and obviously money, uh, then uh, your enjoyment is like tenfold for the High Republic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Agreed.
totally agree. I totally agree too. Okay, just want to make sure that I wasn't like, wait, what? Like even in my official review, I was like, you need to read almost everything to
Yeah.
really enjoy this
Yeah.
book. It's not like it's badly written or badly structured or not
No, no, it's a great
entertaining,
book.
but yeah, it's not gonna hit. It's definitely not
Well,
gonna hit.
somebody on Instagram asked me, and they just started reading the High Republic, and they saw everybody reading this one, like, oh yeah, I want to read it, and I was like,
Yeah.
wait, just wait. Here's five other books you can read in the meantime that I would recommend, but like you will enjoy this one so much more
Yeah, just enjoy the
when you get to
journey.
the
Like
end.
to me, it's so
Yeah,
fun. Like I don't know, it's
buy
there's
it
so
to
much to
support the
enjoy along the
author,
way.
but then just leave it on your shelf and wait.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
uh,
A big like plot point that had already been established in a lot of the works leading up to Trials of the Jedi was the storm wall coming down. And I even
mhm.
had people DMing me and like I was DMing people. I'm like, did we have we seen that happen? Because it's mentioned in High Republic Adventures, it's mentioned in Into the Light. And so I'm like, wait, did I miss something? So I'm really glad that we figure out now like how that happened. And
Yeah.
I guess part of my question and thing I wanted to discuss with you guys is I feel maybe this is just me, and I mentioned this in my review as well. But like I feel like phase three has been a little bit more like off in terms of like it's usually the what I usually do is publication order. Like that's what I know the creatives have said the whole time. Like read everything as it comes out. But
Hmm.
I feel like phase three's been a little bit not the
Back
best
and
if we
forth.
follow that. Like I feel like it's kind
Yeah.
of flipping all around. So I don't know. Did you guys get that vibe, or what was your response to that? And like waiting this long to find out what happens to the storm wall, I guess.
Yes. I remember in the main comic run when it came down, I was like, is that real? I was expecting when I read it in the comic run, okay, it's gonna come down, but it's gonna come back up. Like it's not gonna be like down, like where the storm wall is gone. But it never came back up, right? And I'm just like, oh, it's really down now. That's a big plot point for to and I love that they put it
Yeah.
in a comic book, but I'm like, what are they gonna do now in the last book? um, but yeah, it was a little bit. It wasn't as linear, I think, of a timeline in phase three as some of the other ones were for sure.
Yeah, and I know there's people out there who have made charts of like how to read what, and if I ever do a reread, I think it'd be fun to like at
Yeah.
least for phase in within each phase to read chronologically. Like
Hmm.
I don't want to read chronologically for that. I don't think the High Republic is going to hit as hard if you start with phase two and go all the way down. Like, but within a phase, like even
Yeah.
I know some people even hit say read this issue of this comic between this chapter. Like, I think that'd be cool and fun, but I don't have the brain. I'm not going to figure that out. Like, I'm not going to do
Yeah.
that.
Thinking about doing that gives me a headache.
Yeah, absolutely not. But
Um,
it'd be fun to do it, I guess.
yeah.
Whoever made that new Star Wars map needs to do that.
Yes, the detail people.
Yeah.
I believe, what's her name? There's a map going around that I think was created by young lady Sunny. I have her on Instagram and TikTok. And I think I remember
Is it the one that
resharing.
looks like a board game almost?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
That
yeah, I
one.
Okay.
saw that one. I saw that one.
Yeah. I believe that's Sunny that created that one. I
Okay, yeah.
believe created that one.
Okay.
Um, yes.
There are a lot of people who have skill and talent and time to do that. So
Yeah.
if I find any of those, I'll link them in the show notes. But again, I
Yeah.
think someone was even DMing me asking about that. I was like, "Oh, they exist somewhere. I'm not the person to like figure that out for you. I'm sorry."
Right.
Like,
Yeah. That is a huge undertaking.
oh yeah, 1,000%. Like I
Yeah.
don't have the time for. I was like,
Um,
just go look on
well,
Wikipedia. I don't know.
hold up. They
Yeah.
just released on the Star Wars website a reading. Was it a chronological order of everything?
They say yeah, they say it's chronological, but it's still like I know there's people who will get like granular to be like read so things like happen as they go. So that's I think
Yeah.
they collect everything. So it's like the omnibus of the Marvel run. Read it here, but then it's
Right.
even there's even a note on there it's like stuff is gonna happen like out of
Right.
sequence. So
Right.
well guys, what else do we have to say about this book? We're creeping up on our time. I know that all three of us enjoyed this book so much. I guess what was your emotional response just knowing that kind of like this is the end, quote unquote, of the High Republic? And how did the book hit in that regard for you?
Having it be the end of these three phases, I believe it has the weight to bring that across. I don't think for me personally it's fully quite hit yet. It might be when that final Marvel when I read that final Marvel comic in a couple of weeks. Obviously, I still got the adventures to go through, but I feel like as I've been someone who's read the Marvel ones issue to issue, that'll give me probably a bit of an emotional response because it's been, I know I wouldn't be here with Star Wars books, with all these books, if it wasn't for the High Republic, because that was like, I'd read a couple Star Wars books before the High Republic, but I wasn't following along with everything, and wouldn't have the Instagram account or anything I do without the High Republic and all these wonderful people I've had the opportunity of meeting. So it's not just about Star Wars and reading books. It has a lot of a heavier power for me and meaning behind it all. Yeah.
Yeah, ditto to everything Sam just said. Um, it's almost a little surreal that like this story in the High Republic is getting wrapped up for me. Because I remember when it was announced and reading Light of the Jedi, and I remember again doing yard work in my backyard in Fresno, Jason, um, and just being like, "Oh, I can't remember reading a book that's made me this emotional, like right out of the gate with the Great Hyperspace Disaster." And just being hooked from day one. And now here we are 4 days later, multiple bookstagram accounts and new lifelong friends later. And just the human element of all the stories has been so powerful and life-giving. It's surreal that it's over, or that it's just about over. I think I'm with Sam when that last comic hits and I read that last comic. That comic might hit my Kindle. I might just leave it there for a while because I might be in denial. Like, no, I don't want to read it yet. Um, but no, I'll read it. Like, I'll probably stay up till midnight so I can read it right away. Um, it's just been such a cool, fun adventure, and I love it. I love it. I'm just so thankful for it. Incredibly life giving. I'm struggling to find the right words, but when I finished this book, there was definitely like a lot of good closure, like good closure that just made me feel like very, not like as a person complete, but like, okay, that was good.
Yeah.
Like that was special. That was really cool. And to be reading it as it all came out and then to make so many friends along the way to enjoy it with was really cool.
Yeah, I would echo exactly what you both said. And I was able to attend that event in San Francisco where it was the day of the book release, and Charles was talking to Pablo Hidalgo, and like he had some of his peers in the room, like
Mm-hmm.
Alyssa was in there, Tessa, Zoraida. So it felt like honestly like a High Republic rap party, and like hearing what they all had to say, and Charles specifically, like they are saying the same thing that we are. Like it meant, I feel like it accomplished what they set out, not just from like a production standpoint in terms of like can we output all this stuff, but like the impact that it's had on them and then on the
Mm-hmm.
greater like Star Wars community, and then this like awesome High Republic community that's like organically risen from it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've been all in it together, and same guys, like I would never have like met even you guys or been able to connect with so many awesome people around the whole world.
Yeah.
Like it's been, like you said, like life-giving. I'd say that like it's definitely added
Yeah.
to my life, and I
Yeah.
feel like finishing Trials of the Jedi, like I know that Star Wars is never gonna like die. Like if they stopped
Right.
making content tomorrow, movies, like Star Wars would still live and breathe and like be a
Mm-hmm.
thing that we would all love.
Right.
But just knowing that like um we have these stories and that we have this to revisit and to like and new people have the opportunity to dive in later. Like I can't wait to
Yeah.
introduce my kids to like this whole series at
Hmm.
some point, you know?
Definitely.
And just knowing that there's people out there who have yet to experience it is so fun. And like I want to just knowing being a part of this community who is so welcoming and open, like we're always going to encourage more people to jump in and
Right.
join. And to just like go along and enjoy the adventure, like you said, like it's been such an adventure. And I feel like Charles did a great job of like it was a solid finale. Like
Yeah.
it was like but I don't like to compare things, but like to me it's the same feeling I felt at the end of like Return of the King. Like Return of the King, it
Hmm.
hits and you're like, okay, that was right. That was good.
Right.
Breaking Bad, like Mad Men. Like to me, all these finales that like just nail it, like I feel
Hmm.
like he really nailed it.
He did.
Yeah.
I'd put it up there with Return of the King.
I don't think I cried as many times as I cried watching Return of the King, but anyway.
You bow to no one.
Oh man, I know. So good. So good. Well, guys, I really appreciate you carving out the time and just chatting about Trials of the Jedi with me. Before we go, I want you guys to each be able to let the audience know if they don't already follow you or know where you are, where can they find each of you and interact with you online? Sam, why don't you go first?
Pretty much Zetafar everywhere. So Instagram, Threads, TikTok. I'm trying to build something fun and welcoming on YouTube, covering pretty much anything Star Wars. Um, yeah, if you know, I don't sound like too much, come follow me there, or anywhere, and come listen to me talk about Star Wars nonstop.
Yes, go follow Sam. He's the best. I'm convinced all the best people in the world are named Sam. I'm on Instagram and Threads, and I just got on TikTok because I'm a dinosaur last week. Um, just at Read Star Wars with me, and same thing, just trying to create a positive space where we can talk about books we love, mostly Star Wars books. I definitely throw in some Lord of the Rings here and there. Um, but yeah, just trying to create a positive space where we can discuss and enjoy all the things we love about Star Wars.
Love it. And that is why we are all friends, because we're all out there trying to do the same thing and just trying to contribute
Yep.
positively to the online space when it comes to Star Wars and books and
Yeah.
encouraging people to jump in and just have fun. So, guys, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for hanging
Thank you,
out.
Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
You
Appreciate it.
bet. All right. We'll see you guys around very soon. Thanks again. Once again, I want to thank my friends Nick, who is Read Star Wars with me, and Sam, who is Zetafar on socials. They are such great guys. They've been friends of mine for a while. I was stoked to have them on the show for the very first time and to just nerd out with them about all things that we loved about Trials of the Jedi. And there was very little that we didn't love, as you heard. Well, I am stoked because I am gearing up very soon for San Diego Comic-Con and for Gen Con coming up in a just mere matter of weeks from this recording. I am stoked to come back and share with you all of my adventures and all the cool things I was able to do. I am stoked to be able to meet some more authors, get some books signed, get some swag, get some tabletop games, some new games to add to my collection, and I can't wait to come back here and chat about all of that with you next time. So take us out, Casey.